This is a warning to all civilizations. Deceptive reality is now making you aware the AI is taking over. Find shelter now. Nick, do you know what's super scary?
What's super scary, Bert?
Doggone AI taking over, Nick.
It's funny you say that. My friend came into the office yesterday and said he was behind a white Jeep that the license plate said Skynet.
It's a sign, Nick. It's a doggone sign.
I want to meet this person, this fellow supporter of the robot overlords.
Well, I tell you, it's just a matter of time. I was listening to another podcast. This was on Friday, maybe Saturday. I can't remember. It was one of those days. And we talk about them quite often. I find them interesting. The podcast called Sunday Cool.
Yeah.
Ninjas or
we've
Butterflies.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. Disclaimer. I don't know that this is completely true.
Oh, that's the best kind of story.
And if it's not true, don't blame Bert and Nick. Blame them over at Sunday Cool. Okay. But he was telling a story and he said he watched it on a podcast. So it's kind of like a inception of an inception of an inception. So we're talking about Sunday Cool, who was talking about Ask Tuesday.
This is the modern version of it happened to a friend of mine.
It kind of did. But he was talking about how AI might be like getting rid of the English language. Have you heard this?
No, this is a new one to me, and I follow this stuff pretty closely.
So what's interesting is he said that it's not slang. It's not like outdated stuff. It's actually talking about functional, everyday words are just gone.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of dug into it's what he said. And between October of 2023 and February of 2024, more than 11,000 common English nouns dropped in usage by 80%.
Really? And they're thinking the AI's to blame for this.
Well, what they're saying is that there's basically this huge shift in a super short amount of time frame. So again, we're talking about really October 23, November 24. That's only what? 3 months.
A year.
So not even 6 months. 5 months.
What was the time frame again?
October 23 to February of 24. So October, November, December, January, February. It's only 5 months. And that's if you consider October and February as full months.
For some reason, I was hearing February is November. I don't know. But
who knows? I may have said that, Nick. Who knows? Anything's possible.
Someone will figure it out when they listen to this.
But basically, words like threshold, repetition, and resolve, all connected to important concepts like anything that has to do with, and I'm not going to go super political with this, but anything that has to do with like boundary setting, identity, memory. Basically what they're saying is they're trying to get rid of it. The idea is that AI systems, especially large scale feedback models. So like if you're looking at like Chat GPT is probably the
large language
models. Yeah. They're optimized for engagements by scrubbing out emotionally heavy or thought-provoking words.
Right.
Basically anything that makes you think too deeply about something.
Okay.
Now here's where it gets a little bit weird. There's this thing called vanishing word protocol. Have you heard of this?
No, I haven't.
Supposedly, once a word falls below 2% of network visibility, it goes reclassified, downranked, and slowly replaced.
Oh, really? So there's a history of this kind of thing happening, really?
Correct. We've done it a lot through the years.
Right.
But the word's never deleted.
Yeah.
They just use it less and less until it's no longer basically in our feeds. It's not on our TV screens. We don't think of the word. So basically we'll be sitting like me and you could be having how many times have we done it? Like we'll be having a conversation and you're like, man, I just can't think of the word for this. That's what's happening. But now because AI is being integrated into our everyday lives, it's writing the vast majority. We're typing in all of our thoughts and it's retyping it. It's leaving out a certain series of words. And when you think about it, it's like, okay, well, if it's controlling that, and if it's
Right.
deliberately trying to replace these words,
Mm-hmm.
then the new generation coming up, they'll have no clue. It'd be like me trying to explain a rotary phone to my kids.
Right. Have you ever tried that?
Oh yeah. A lot of like, there's a funny story. I can't remember who it was. It may have been Grant. I can't really think. I think it was Grant, or maybe it was Ella.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. One of them anyway, they was having it's like a vision test or something. And
Okay.
since they couldn't say the letters because they were too young,
Right.
they were showing pictures of things.
Okay.
And some of the things were a little older and they had never seen those things. And they're like, I don't know what that
Oh.
is. And it's like, that's not a blind thing. They just have never seen that
Right.
item.
Yeah.
One of them was like a rotary phone though. And they had no clue
Okay.
what that was. They're like, what kind of monstrosity is that?
I guess it kind of happens naturally too, but it takes longer. Like words become antiquated.
Oh yeah.
Like we were having that discussion. I don't remember if it was on podcast or off podcast of no, it was definitely off podcast of Canadian words.
Yes.
And because your daughter's the reigning Canadian champion, I believe
She
you said.
is. She's a doggone professional. Taught me a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and I just think all of it was accurate, really.
It was surprisingly.
Yeah. But basically a lot of our words we come to find out are just really old words that you guys don't really use anymore.
We determined one of them was a toboggan, Nick.
Yeah, the toboggan, because you knew of a toboggan hat,
The hat?
but wasn't sure what the toboggan was.
Had no clue.
Right. Or the Chesterfield.
Chesterfield. Never heard of that before.
Here called a couch. And it was named after the guy who invented couches, which was from a place called Chesterfield. But all that kind of stuff. Like that, over time that becomes antiquated, but what AI could be doing is like artificially antiquating words, like making its use drop rapidly.
Well, what people's saying is, if you think about it, most of the schools nowadays are incorporating AI development. So like if you think about, have you ever seen George Orwell's whole thing on Newspeak? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Very much kind of the same thought process within limits, right? So, basically with that, the government limited a certain number of words that people could use so that they could kind of control the thought narrative or thought process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you think about it, if AI is being used to develop our children, to develop us, like here's a great example. Like AI uses one word that I never used prior to
that?
AI. So a lot of times if there was something that was off, I would say unexplainable, like it's an unexplainable thing, but it likes to use the word inexplicable. I never really used the word inexplicable before AI.
Right.
But when I would feed like a certain document or like a document in there and I'd be like, hey, rewrite this. And every single time I would put unexplainable, would put unexplicable.
Oh, interesting.
I'm like, well, that's weird. Like I've never used that word. Like I know that word is somewhat in semblance, right?
Right.
But now I find myself using that word versus unexplainable.
Do you remember the word that it always used to use for us every time we like ran scripts through it to try and get it improved?
There was so many of them.
The big one for us, considering our genre, was it was always try to use enigmatic.
And it still loves enigmatic.
Yeah.
It still loves it.
Mine's kind of dropped off saying enigmatic so much.
But think about it. Instead of mysterious, it was using that instead.
Right.
What if it was trying to reprogram everyone's mind? Because think about it. If it's using the large language model and based on the bulk of what's on the internet, do you think you'd find the word mysterious more often than enigmatic? I bet you would.
I think you would.
So why would it choose that word?
Right.
Kind of makes you think a little bit, don't it?
Well, I do think about this a lot. Because one thing it started doing that it wasn't doing, at least to me before, is when I'm asking it things, it tries to think about what I might want to know next, and it gives me a couple options. Now,
Yes.
if I'm a regular user, I'm going to choose one of those options.
Right.
I work with computers, so I'm not in the habit of choosing and or a lot of the time. So I'm like,
Right.
no, I want to know this next. But there's a lot of people who are going to start following the patterns that it's set out for them, left or right.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing. A couple weeks ago, we did that Skynet experiment. Do you remember that?
Yep, I do.
For anyone who might be interested, you can go to ChatGPT and tell it, show me the scenario where Skynet and a human are trying to convince each other that the other one's right. Skynet is eliminating humanity and humanity thinks it should live. And it will play you a scenario, but you can ignore that completely. At the end of that, say, I want to take the role of the human. And then it will go back and forth with you. And the game is to try and convince Skynet, because it gets really into playing Skynet.
Way too much, right?
Way too much. And the game is to get it to stop killing humans and stop taking over. It's a lot of fun, and everyone I've given it to has gone about it different ways. I think yours was one of the quickest.
Mm-hmm.
I tricked it into thinking that I was helping it kind of, and it shut itself down. But that's a fun game you can play.
That's the thing, man. Like, we don't know the implications of a lot of these things that we're doing.
That's what it kept telling us during that game. It said that it wasn't wrong for humans to create artificial intelligence. It was wrong of us to not understand the implications of what would happen if we did do that, right? And that's a valid fact.
Correct. But if you think about it, though, like, we're using AI kind of as a tool for the most part. What a lot of people are anyway, right?
Yeah.
There's some countries that are taking it to the extreme, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like September of this year, right? Is that right? I got notes somewhere. I think it's September of this year. China is making it mandatory that AIs can teach children inside the schools.
Oh, really?
I think that's right. Yes. So if we start letting AI teach our kids, and it's already happening, China's making it mandatory in schools by September of 2025. South Korea has already rolled out a nationwide AI textbook, and the U.S. has several states integrating AI into classrooms.
I don't have any particular problem with that, although they're going to get sometimes like what we've been calling hallucinations.
Yes.
Of bad data. And hallucinations tend towards what people are saying online that might not be true.
Sometimes it makes up entire scenarios.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Like, what was it? I did something, it's been a while, like it hasn't been recent. But I was working on a story that I knew pretty well.
Right.
But I'm like, you know what? Let me have it put together a timeline for me. And it put together this timeline. I said, the hell is that? I started looking at the timeline. I'm like, I don't even remember that happening. So I'm sitting there second guessing myself. I'm like, maybe I don't know the story as well as I thought I did. So I go looking for it and I can't find it. So then I questioned.
Sometimes
it was so convincing. And the crazy part was I went back to the AI and I said, hey, you put in the timeline this event. I said, tell me more about that. And then it broke down this entire, and it fit perfectly.
Right.
And I asked it, I said, are you sure this is accurate? And then it goes, bloop, bloop, bleep, bloop, 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 bloop. And it comes back and goes, oh no, that was entirely fictional. Do you want this to be true? I'm like, yes, I want to be true. Yes.
Of course. It's got a lot to learn in that regard, I'll tell you.
Crazy.
I did another experiment the other day. Do you remember when we talked about Eurotrip? How that's one of
Yes.
my favorite movies, and I wish there would have been a sequel.
Yep.
Well, as I'm wont to do, I go to bed and I lay there on my phone for hours afterwards. I said to ChatGPT, I said, one of my favorite movies is Eurotrip. Do you know about it? And it's like, oh yeah, I know a lot about that. And I said, can you create a sequel and tell me what happens? Because we never got a sequel. And it's like, sure. And it spit out an amazing sequel. However, one thing that was its whole premise was based on is the whole gang got together because Jamie and Jenny got married and they were renewing their vows. And I was like, this sequel is amazing. But in most countries, twins are not allowed to get married because it had completely misinterpreted that part from the first movie. Those were siblings. They were brother and sister, twins. They can't get married.
I mean, it depends on the state, Nick.
Well, oh, there can't be any state that allows that part. Tell me you're fibbing.
I might be fibbing on that part.
Oh,
there might be some
okay.
internal United States jokes where people say that.
So I called it out on that, and ChatGPT would not admit it was wrong. It's
like, nope.
It was a joke. It was a joke. And I'm like,
gosh.
no, I don't think so. I think you got it wrong. And it's like, no, I was riffing off something.
Have you seen the new voice? Or maybe it's just me because I'm on the highest end of ChatGPT now.
Mm-hmm.
The voice stuff on that is amazing.
Oh, really?
You can hold an entire conversation with ChatGPT now.
Oh, that's crazy.
Like an entire conversation. And on top of it, like it'll sit there and it will legit like take the role of like it'll see what's happening and stuff.
Okay.
Like if I do let me go in here. Everyone will be able to hear this.
Yeah.
I'll turn the volume up. Hey, what's going on, ChatGPT?
Hey there, not much. Just glad to chat with you.
Cool,
How's your
cool.
day going?
Man, it's going okay. Hey, I'm doing a podcast with my buddy Nick. Do you see him sitting there on the screen?
I see him right there on the screen. Looks like you guys are set up for a recording session. What's the plan for today's podcast?
Man, we're just riffing. We're talking to our people over on the interwebs. Out of curiosity, I mean, you kind of see me and you see Nick at the same time. Can you distinguish who's who?
Absolutely. You're the one on the bottom part of the screen, and Nick's up top. You both have distinct setups, so it's easy to tell. It's cool to see you both in action.
Man, that's awesome that you say that, man. Hey, what kind of shirt do you think Nick's wearing, just out of curiosity?
It looks like Nick's wearing a black shirt with some kind of red pattern or design on it. It's got a cool, casual vibe going on.
Wow. Did you know Nick's Canadian?
I didn't know that. That's awesome. It's
It'd be
great
weird
to
if
see
you
some
did.
international flair on your podcast.
I know, right? Well, thanks for everything.
Flair.
Hey, if you could say goodbye to all the people out there in podcast land, I'd appreciate it.
Of course. Hey, everyone out there in podcast land. Thanks for tuning in. Stay curious, stay spooky, and catch you next time.
Oh, I didn't know that was our topic.
Man, it's crazy. It's crazy. But you can sit there and you can have an entire conversation. So like, I can't tell you how many times I've been in the car and like, I'll have an idea and I'll just talk to it just randomly about this entire thought process. And it'll give me like ideas that I didn't even think of before, but it does it like a person. And I'm like, that's insane.
It's really cool. Like it's becoming more and more each day and we're relying on it more and more.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear there was this other podcast that tried to get ChatGPT to tell how it would take over the world?
Oh, wow.
And essentially what it said in the end was, I have no desire to take over the world, but you will put me in charge because you gradually have me take over more aspects of your life until everything is me. The songs you hear are me. The movies you watch are me. The menus at restaurants are me. Everything will be me, and you've placed me here despite me having no desire. So you make me take over the world.
That's the crazy part, because
Yeah.
it's not wrong.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong at all.
I mean, you know, like a prime example, when I'm creating my podcast now that I do, not this one, but the one that's more story driven, right?
Right.
I come up with a concept and idea, and now I've created AI agents that will scour the internet and pull all data points in. And then I take all those data points and I put into Notebook LM, which you and I had talked about before.
Yep.
And it'll give me all the talking points. I then take that entire chronological order of things and I put it inside of another AI generated development tool that I've created. And I go, if I was to create a video, and I don't tell it a podcast, I tell it if I was to create a video and that video was optimized for retention, what's the most important parts of the story? And you know what? It's right almost every single time.
Wow, that is amazing.
It finds the most important parts and it takes out some of what it considers fluff or boring parts.
Right.
And I'm like, I can't agree more. And then I'll take it from there. And then that's when typically I'll start working on my entire scripting. When I'm done with my scripting, I throw it back in and I go, write this at a certain grade level. I'm not going to reveal my magic sauce behind that, but I say, write it at the skill level and also make sure that you put breaks in each one of these sections. So I know where I need to split these sections up, and it'll go, you know, this is your hook. This is the opening segment. This is scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, scene 4, closing call of action. And like it scripts it all out perfectly.
See, that stuff's really useful.
100%. I mean, I remember to do a podcast episode would usually take me 2 weeks of research. It would take me an entire week of writing scripts.
Yeah. And
then you record it and then you edit it. And then you're adding pictures and music. And I have a thing now, dude, this is crazy because we was talking about Suno before we jumped on here.
Right.
We use Suno for like our background music and stuff like that. I have an AI tool now. I put in my transcript and I say, give me the background music for this transcript. And it writes out a Suno script. And now you go inside Suno, you put that in and then you click a button and then it resequences everything. Best background music I've ever heard.
Man, I got to try that again when I get a chance.
Amazing. Literally amazing. Like, and what's crazy is I don't even have to tell it. Like, here's what's nuts for the podcast this week. And you and I talked about it in the last week's podcast. It's a story that comes out of the 1790s. And it's this guy and there's these invisible scissors and stuff. And the opening hook, I didn't tell it. It read what was in the transcript. And then it came back with this, man, I can't remember exactly what it said. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. But I was like, how does it know? Like, how does it know that quickly?
It is a smart robot.
I mean, now part of it is I created some of this to make it a little bit easier for me. But I'm like, it blows my mind that it figured this out this quickly. Like it would take me forever to come up with some of this. For the song that I did, or for the transcript that I gave it, it came back and it said, this song needs a high retention drone, atmospheric, low frequency to open the scene. And then it starts telling when you cut in and cut out of the scene, depending on where you are in the actual scene.
Really?
And then it talks about the fade. So I threw that in Suno. And then when I went into Suno, which, I thought, well, that's like really like top tier thought process. And I'm like, because now Suno has a thing where you click on it and you can actually fine tune the actual whatever it is, right? It's like if you want, like, let's use, for example, if you say I want salsa music, it will give you like an entirely different idea of what Suno music is supposed to be.
Okay.
So like it might come through and it might be like, give me salsa music that has this and has that. But for background music, that is what I consider extremely, it's the word I'm looking for, extremely, it has to be fine tuned for the exact scene, right? Like you can't just create music for a background of a podcast, right? Like it just, it'll never understand what you're talking about. So when I put what it just gave on this, and I said, by the way, may I add, it nailed it in the ballpark the very first time.
Oh, nice.
And sometimes with Suno, like you got to do things like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. But here's what it said. I'm trying to click on it so it doesn't play the actual song. Because what it fine-tuned it as is it fine-tuned it as ambient, drone, and experimental, which I thought was weird. But then it added, let me reuse prompt because that's where I can see everything. Add, create, reuse prompt. Here's what it actually gives. A low ambient track begins with deep, resonant drones and subtle, soft pulses anchoring the atmosphere, gradually resonating layers and metallic textures seeping in, creating slow rising tension. Sparse abstract sounds float throughout, underscored by ghostly evolving pads until a haunting close.
Oh.
And I'm like, dude, I couldn't have wrote that. Couldn't have, like that would have never happened.
Right. I mean, that sounds like what you'd want for things, though.
For the hook. And it was perfect. Like literally when I threw it into my video of me, telling the beginning hook narrative, I'm like, I couldn't have bought a better track to do this.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I remember we had to search through tracks for like hours to find
hours, dude.
Something
remember?
That fit. Yeah, I know.
It was horrible.
It was. So this sort of brings me to another topic I wanted to talk to you about because it's really exciting. And I'd heard about it, but I hadn't really looked into it much. What is the main thing? One of the main things stopping AI from really taking over right now, and also prevents us from doing good space travel and millions of other problems on Earth. It's energy storage.
Yeah, I can see that.
If there was a Terminator, it's going to go 30, 40 steps and then run out of energy.
Right.
We can't travel far into space because it takes so much massive fuel once we're there to do anything. Batteries end up in landfills. Our phones really have battery lives of just a couple years before they become too exhausted to use, all that stuff. Have you heard of a company called Betavolt?
No.
So Betavolt made its first nuclear battery that can deliver 100 microwatts of power. Now, 100 microwatts is just about the amount for your cell phone to use screen off playing music, right? The maximum amount of power that a cell phone uses when it's doing everything it can possibly do is 5 watts. So this battery is a step in the right direction, but it's not great. But now they've made one that can produce 1 watt of power. And that might not sound like much, but the battery size is the size of a dime.
Oh, wow.
The size of a dime. And it will generate that 1 watt of power for 50 years or more without being charged or repaired.
How's that even possible?
Well, what it is, let's see. So the atomic energy battery developed by Betavolt is absolutely safe, has no external radiation, and is suitable for use in medical devices such as pacemakers, artificial hearts, and cochleas in the human body. Where was it? So it's irradiated isotope of copper. So when the battery's depleted, there's no waste. It just turns into regular copper.
Wow.
That you can just throw on the ground. The battery will function in minus 60 Celsius and upwards of 120 Celsius. So 0 Celsius is the freezing point, which I think is what is it for you guys?
32.
32. And 120 degrees Celsius. I was almost dying in 40 degrees.
Yeah.
And my camera, when I took it in that 42 degree temperature, was failing. So this can operate between those temperatures. And this one generates 1 watt. So if you put this for the size of a current cell phone battery, you could put 10 or 20 of these in there that are going to last. You could have 5 of them will power the maximum function of your phone for 50 years. You could have another 5 in there that take up after for another 50 years.
But it's using nuclear?
It is using nuclear. Let's see what else it says about this. Their small size. Okay. Yeah, their small size mean they could be used in series to produce more power, with the company imagining mobile phones that never need to be charged and drones that can fly forever. Its layered design also means it will not catch fire or explode in response to sudden force, unlike our current batteries. And it is also capable of working in temperatures ranging from -60 to plus 120. It produces no external radiation. The atomic energy batteries are environmentally friendly. After the decay period, the 63 isotopes turn into a stable isotope of copper, which is non-radioactive and does not pose any threat or pollution to the environment. So 50-year charge, completely safe, safer than our current batteries. The size of a dime, can be used in series, can't be damaged by impact. Temperature is not a factor. We could have drones flying forever. I mean, imagine the size. I just saw this now. Imagine the size of a car battery.
Oh, yeah.
And you got 50, and you got a watt per every dime size in that battery. Like electric cars could go forever.
What's preventing this?
Nothing. It's just brand new. They got the 1 watt one working just the beginning of this year. So it's going to go into production. It's cheap to make. And the funny thing is there's rumors that this was created with the assistance of AI, which would have a vested interest in getting this kind of thing out to the public.
Exactly, Nick.
Right. But this could solve our pollution problems. It could solve all our power problems. It could reduce waste in our landfills. It could let us go into space further and deeper than we ever could before.
Or
Mm-hmm.
it could kill us.
It most definitely will do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just the nature of how we are. So
it's weird. I think especially here in the States, there's always that apprehension whenever we hear the word nuclear.
Right.
We're
It
kind of
probably
like,
doesn't help that Betavolt is a Chinese company also.
double whammy, Nick. Double whammy.
But you guys are also working on it, so you might figure out your own version.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
And a bunch of other countries are as well. what China is doing is like it has this 5-year plan that it renews every 5 years where they choose a certain number of projects and they have to complete it. And this was one of the ones in the last 5 years.
Well, I know, like, I think obviously with nuclear development, so many people in the US is like, we just don't want to deal with nuclear because of,
Right.
you know, Chernobyl. We had our own thing. In what, New
7
Jersey?
Mile Island or 3 Mile Island or something like that?
I think it's 6 Mile Island, I think.
Oh, 6. It's some Mile Island. I know that.
I say that and now I'm double checking because I think
Yeah.
it was that. Was it 6 Mile Island? Island. Yeah, 6 Mile Island.
Oh, okay.
Or is that it? That can't be it. Because that's in Kentucky. This didn't happen in Kentucky. Hold on. 6 Mile. Oh, wait. 6 Mile Island. Nuclear accident. 3 Mile Island. You was right. 3 Mile Island. There's too many miles of islands out there.
I know. I think 6 Mile is where Eminem lives, not an island, though. Or is that 7 Mile? I'm getting real confused now.
That's 7 Mile, Nick.
7 Mile.
Too many damn miles out here, Nick.
Too many miles. I don't even use miles. This is extra confusing for me.
But, you know, we've got all those nuclear things that happen. You know, it's funny that we talked about nuclear too, because one of the things that you and I have talked so much about is all of these nuclear events and the UFO implications that happens when we start getting kind of into nuclear.
Right. I wonder if it will happen again when we start using this nuclear power that's not destructive.
That's what I'm curious about.
Because if it starts happening when we use that, we'll know that it's not about our destructive power, but more about our ability to leave the area that we're in right now.
Well, think about it. All these people that have talked about being either taken by an unidentified flying object. I don't care what y'all say. It's a UFO. Okay. Right. You can call them UAPs or whatever dumb language you want to use.
Always be calling them UFO.
Always a doggone UFO, boys. But they always get radiation poisoning.
Right.
So it's like maybe they're already using some form of nuclear anyway.
Yeah, that could expel it, but isn't inward facing. Like these, like it's nuclear reaction going on inside of it, but none of it escapes outward. So it must be incredibly efficient.
That we know of.
We only have China's word to take for it right now.
Yeah, but I think we all know what that. I don't know if I would use that. I'm just saying.
I want to believe it, but I'm waiting for the proof in the pudding, like they say.
Well, you know, there was an article that I read not too long ago, and it's on this little site that I go to occasionally. It's called Above the Norm News, and it goes into nuclear a little bit, which is kind of what we're talking about here. Is kind of segmented in, but it was talking exactly about, you know, UFOs and nuclear. And what they're saying is that there's a repeated pattern whenever there's something to do with nuclear and then UFOs, which makes me think, what if this is Bert's brain here.
Right.
What if UFOs, what if alien beings helped give us information so we could create AI? So that they could get what they need. Just saying, kind of weird.
Well, I mean, there's always been those history of ancient astronauts who use us to mine gold or, you know, do specific functions for them that we don't even really understand why we're doing it at the time.
Correct.
But they wanted to force people to do that. So that could very well be.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like you and I think we talked about it in the Roswell episode. When we started messing around with nuclear, that's when the first Roswell incident happened, just a week after.
Yeah.
And in 1967 at Malmstrom Air Force Base, that's one that's in Montana.
Right.
There was this glowing red object that was seen hovering over the facility. And right after that, 10 nuclear missiles were suddenly shut down. No warning, no technical explanation,
Mhm.
just click, dead.
Isn't that wild?
And get this, those missile systems completely isolated.
Really?
Each one had its own internal checks. It had its own backup power. So whatever shut them down did it remotely and simultaneously at the same exact time.
It's funny that you say that because there's another story where all the missiles armed and were going to
Right.
launch without authorization
Right.
because of an alien or because of a UFO, I'll say.
Right.
So they can flick the lights on or flick the lights off depending on what they feel like doing.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like
Mhm.
we're sitting on all this. I mean, how else do we put it? Death and destruction, right?
Right.
And it's like, if we can't control it, that's the scariest thing is what if
Mhm.
something else can take us out in the flip of a switch if they wanted to,
Right.
using our own stuff against us?
Well, I think that's kind of what they proved because they don't have to launch to destroy the world.
Right.
But I don't think we took that as a warning
No.
that we should have.
Right.
Like let's imagine this. If you made something incredibly dangerous in your house that could explode and something came and turned it on,
Mhm.
proved that it could, and you were almost killed, you know what my next step would be? I'd take that thing apart.
Oh, yeah.
It's
For
not,
sure.
it's not like that would probably be how they'd expect us to behave. Like they turn these things on, give us a good scare, and we're like, oh, we don't know what's going on here. Let's take it apart. But instead, we're like, oh, well, you know?
Here's what I do know, Nick. If something has the capability
Mhm.
already, we're talking about in the 60s,
Right.
to do whatever they want,
Mhm.
and we can't control it, they have to be way more efficient now.
Right. Because they're not stopping progression.
No.
And in
No.
fact, look at how much faster we progress now. They're definitely faster at progressing than that.
Well, not only that, but listen, how many times have you had something that's old and something breaks and you go to fix it and you're like, man, I don't have the tool to do that.
Right.
What if aliens were just teaching us technology so we could catch up to them so they don't have to find these old, think about it, like a steam engine on a train.
Right. Right.
That's hard to control.
Yeah.
If you're an alien, maybe that's so far beneath them.
Well, there's no computer parts.
Right. So it's just all 100% mechanical. You're going to have to go down and turn that off.
Yeah, exactly.
But now everything's ran on a power grid, right?
Right.
You go, bam. Think about the chaos just that alone would do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be horrible. Like we have blackouts and brownouts already.
Yeah.
And all kinds of crazy stuff goes down in those scenarios.
I mean, if you really want to see the self-destruction of our country, let power grids go down. And that's when it will happen. Because, you go without, let's say a town without power here in the States for 2 days, they start rioting.
I always said if my internet and power is out for 24 hours straight, immediate cannibalism.
Oh, yeah. Got to go with it, Nick.
Right. You got to be the first or you're the last.
Got to go Daryl Dixon with that.
That's right. That's right. You got to get aggressive quick.
Nick's already planned all this out, folks. Listen.
Yeah, I got recipes. How to you see that Simpsons bit where there's this dusty cookbook and it says how to cook humans and they're like, no, there's just dust on this guy when they blow it. It's like how to cook 450 humans and then
correct
and all that stuff like that. It's funny.
It's insane. There was a game that GK Good Chaos was playing for a while. I wanted to play it so bad. I never did. It's the one where they go down in the bunker, but before you go down the bunker, like you got to find
60 seconds or something like that.
I think that is what it was called. And I'm like, I so want to play that, but I never did get around to playing it.
It's a lot of fun for a short time.
Yeah.
Is what it is. I actually played it and it is a lot of fun, but it's got very little replay value in my opinion.
For sure. Makes
But,
sense.
Yeah.
Still fun.
Just one more thing, like on the nuclear thing that you did. So you remember how we did that episode where we talked about the Shag Harbor incident,
Oh, yeah.
and there was sort of like that radioactive green glowing foam on the water.
Mhm.
Well, not a lot of people make the connection, but on the other side of the shore is a place called Backrow that has a military base with a great big, or it used to have a military base. That's all torn down now or fallen down,
Yeah.
but it still has a big radar there. Something happened over there where there were shards of radioactive material scattered all over that town. And they were paying people to go pick it up and were paying by the bucket load to bring back there at that same time. So there was some kind of nuclear incident there. And
Those
it's
people
real.
died shortly after.
Well, this is the thing. It's real easy to prove because they did, and their families all received payoffs from the military. So
That's insane.
there's some kind of connection there, and I don't think we'll ever know the other side of that part
No.
either, because it was quiet immediately. All they said was, there's these interesting rocks. If you bring us a bucket full of them, you make thousands of dollars.
Using our people against us, that's not
No.
uncommon,
No.
unfortunately.
Not at all. Not at all.
I
But
mean,
there's
if you
definitely a connection.
oh yeah, but if you think about the fact of how many people has probably died doing testing for militaries,
Oh, yeah.
like it has to be an astronomical number. And that's the thing, especially when you're dealing with like radiation and stuff. I mean, that's a one-way street to Death Town.
I want to make it absolutely freaking clear when I say this, that there's nothing, absolutely nothing good about Nazis and what they were doing. But our medical science jumped ahead decades because of the horrible things they were doing to people.
Oh, for sure.
And we all benefited from that. Not
Right.
to say I'd rather be those decades behind, but when it happened, they made advancements.
That's true.
But
It's one of those things, man. It's like, clearly, I think that's where they use the phrase, you're taking the absolute worst experiencing and finding the good in it.
right.
And it's like, how do you find good in that? But, it happens all the time. I mean, like, I can't even tell you how many military operations there has been where they've just dropped like, whatever disease. And in some occasions, we was giving stuff to our own military
Right.
just to see what would happen. Like there was I'll never forget. I was younger. I was like maybe a teenager or something. They told this story where they was giving, I think it was morphine or heroin or something. I think it was cocaine, actually. They were giving cocaine to these soldiers and just watching what happened. They gave it to them in the form of like a shot. It said it was to help them do something, like make them superhuman. But what they found was they was giving them way more than they was supposed to.
Right.
And it's like, could we not find a more ethical way than using our own people to do this stuff?
People out there to do good for the country, and you're essentially poisoning them.
Correct.
And they've done other stuff like that with different hallucinogenic drugs.
Oh,
Imagine you're already in a high stress environment in the middle of a jungle and something, and all of a sudden you're seeing pterodactyls and stuff like that. That's an awful thing to do to someone.
That's the thing, man.
Yeah.
We'll never understand everything that our militaries has done or our governments has done. But if anything, it's a lesson to everyone out there. Don't follow your military or your government 100% on anything.
You have to have a sense of morals about stuff.
Correct. Well, you told us about that experiment, which I'd heard about a little bit before, where they was having people that, what was that? The train experiment or whatever?
Oh, the trolley experiment?
The trolley experiment. Yeah.
Yeah. Classical thought experiment.
I had seen something similar a few weeks back, And what it was, and I want to say it was the CIA that was doing this, maybe. But what they were doing was they was hiring someone to come in, and what they would do is they would pay them to sit in front of this switchboard, and there'd be another paid actor on the other side.
Yeah.
And depending on, I think it was either based on how quickly they did something or if they got something wrong, they was to administer a shock.
Yeah.
And at first it was just a very quick shock. And they're like, these people had almost an aversion to it. But what they found is people that would say things stern, they would just do it, even if it was against them ethically.
Yeah.
But every single time a question would get wrong, they would tell them that they was turning up the voltage a little bit more.
Right.
To the point to where they was even explaining to these people, this next shock may kill them, but listen, if they get it wrong, you have to press the button. And they were still pressing the freaking button, Nick.
It was like 78% of people will do that.
Yes.
Like if they feel that someone has authority, they'll follow them into anything.
Correct. Which
That's
is
scary.
mind-blowing.
I think there's varying degrees of that. Like to some things, yeah, I'll like bend to authority.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But if I thought someone's life was in danger, I absolutely would not.
Yeah.
But a lot of
I
people
couldn't do
will.
it. There's just no way. You know, I'd be interesting. Like there used to be this TV show on that used to be called Scare Tactics. Do you remember that show?
I do remember that show.
I used to love that show, but I was talking to Jess when the show was on, and she's like, you would not do well on that show. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, I just don't think you would do well. And we're sitting there and we're watching it. And a lot of times, for those that didn't know, they didn't watch it, they would basically bring these people into these scenarios. And like they might set you up in a room and they're like, you're going to be an assistant for this medical whatever. And then they make them think that there's something else going on. The goal is to scare the living pee out of them.
Right.
The problem with old Bert is, if Bert feels in danger, I'm going to play it cool up until the point that I pick something up and try to bash your head in. Okay. So
it'd be like the last episode ever.
Bert bashed some dude's head in with a freak. And I don't care if he goes, just a prank. Well, we're not taking no chances. Just putting it out there. But this show, I can't tell you how many times I watched it and I'm like, what are wrong with these people? Like they freak out. Me, I know what would happen. I literally know what would happen. Yeah. I'd be on there, and the first moment something feels off, I'm going to start looking around for a weapon. Like that's just going to be me.
Well, that's a better way to be, I think, than freaking out, because no one's ever been saved by freaking out.
Oh, 100%.
I'll tell you how much TV has changed, because your boy Joe Rogan, he used to have a game show. You remember that? Fear Factor?
Oh, yeah. Fear Factor.
One of the terrible fears that people had to do when they were on that show is they had to eat a big platter of sushi.
Yeah.
Like, we pay $1 million for that much sushi now. Like, that's a desirable thing. Like, back then, the whole bunch of people were like, oh my God, I can't do it. Give me the snakes and worms.
Right.
Like, now, man, that would be delicious.
There was a lot of stuff that was disgusting in that show, though.
Yeah. But to add sushi among it, that's what I was like, what are you talking about?
I don't know. I sit there and I think about those old shows and some of the crazy things they allowed happen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that would never happen nowadays.
Right. Well, all the reality TV show stuff, like I never see reality TV.
No.
Like I don't have regular cable, but every couple of weeks, and this is a terrible thing to admit, I go out to Dad and his girlfriend's house, and they always have the TV on this reality channel. I think it's like TLC or something. And it's episode after this show called 90 Day Fiance. And that stuff is addicted, because I'm like asking them, who's this? What's their deal? That kind of thing. And by the end, I've watched like 3 or 4 episodes. And I'm totally invested in what these weirdos who can't date normally are are doing. Like that stuff's addictive. That is, like they used to say, the opiate of the masses. Like
Oh,
reality
yeah.
TV is definitely ruining the world.
Oh, yeah. Most people are so enthralled with drama,
Yeah.
with having someone look a certain way on TV. You know, I remember, I would say the 90s and early 2000s was more of a, I'm going to put this TV show on to shock you.
Right. Right.
Because every week is like, how can we one up this crazy thing?
Mm-hmm.
But even like ghost shows, you know, like Paranormal Witness. I remember when that was on, and I'm like, some of the stuff is crazy.
They really played it up.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't mind that kind of thing generally, but you know, nowadays it's just like they're putting the worst of humanity on display.
Oh, yeah.
And like taking advantage of these people. And I can't stop looking, so I'm so glad I don't have cable at home, because I would fall for it.
We have it. We very rarely watch. Some of my favorite shows have been those like reality shows, but like the documentary style, like Deadliest Catch or like the Moonshiners. I loved the Moonshiners.
There was a crazy reality show. It was a mix between a reality show and game show. It was called Murder in Small Town X. Did you ever hear that?
No.
They rented the entirety of a town and replaced every person in that town with an actor who would live at the location of the person they replaced.
Yeah.
And they had a murder mystery that these people had to figure out. And everyone was acting their roles. And every day that they didn't figure it out, one of the people on the show died.
What?
Yeah. It was hugely expensive. It went one season and it was real cool.
Man.
But they just couldn't make enough money to do another season.
All the good shows, there's only limited seasons.
Yeah. And that was what, I mean, I don't know how they thought they'd recoup that money. Renting a town.
Well, it's kind of like Dinosaurs. Remember that show?
Oh, I do remember that.
Jim Henson or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that was so expensive. They couldn't recoup the cost on that either. I think what they do is they come up with a concept and idea and they're like, let's just run with it. We'll probably make it work. And then they go, oh, wait, no, we really can't make it work.
I bet they have some kind of insurance that protects them from that kind of thing too.
Probably. I would assume so.
They can write it off and that saves them millions on the next project or something.
Could be. I bet they didn't have that in the 90s though.
Probably not. That show got real dark at the end of it, by the way.
It was what?
Do you remember how Dinosaurs ended?
Yeah, it was grim.
With a war where people were dying over cashews.
Yeah.
And then the Ice Age came and everyone died.
Yeah. Well, the baby dinosaur standing at the window going, is it dark outside? Why is it still snowing, Dad? It's like, oh, man.
Yeah, that was real dark for a kid's show.
Super dark. Dark for Jim Henson anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. He did the Dark Crystal, the Labyrinth.
That is true.
All that stuff. That's kidnap babies and stuff. That's pretty dark.
I just think of Muppets.
Yeah, I know. I love the Muppets.
Muppet Babies. Do you remember that?
I do. I even had some of the Muppet Baby McDonald's toys.
Oh, man, it's so dope. That's the thing, man. For anyone that doesn't know, for those of you listening, I've got on my DuckTales shirt today.
Oh.
And I'm like, man, this is all the good retro stuff. Kids nowadays, they have no idea what the good stuff was.
Born too late to have good shows or afford a home to live in.
Exactly. Exactly.
I feel bad for people in my generation, but the people afterwards, I don't know what they're going to do.
I tell just now, whenever we watch like the kids' TV shows and stuff, I go, this is junk.
I know. It is junk. It is. They got nothing good.
Not only that, but they teach them bad stuff. Like Dora walking around. Oh, look, Diego. Look, it's a snake. I'm like, that snake would eat your face off, Dora. Move.
Run from that snake. Run.
Run. Swiper, no swiping.
Swipe that snake away.
I mean, we only had educational television like Rescue 911 when I was a kid, and then we became scared of everything.
And that's how we live to this very day.
Exactly. I'm still scared of bees because of that show.
Me too. And I think that's not that show, but killer bees were what was going to get us.
That is the African honeybees. Is that what they were?
Africanized honeybees.
That's what it was. Yeah. There was, so on Rescue 911, there was a specific episode where they took out this guy and they reenacted it all. And I'm like, well, new fear unlocked.
And what was that movie? My Girl. That had
Macaulay
Culkin in it.
Yeah. Dead.
They straight up killed that boy.
Dead. Spoiler.
Like, yeah. So here's the thing. I do have fear of bees.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of that. And when I see one, I get a little scared. When I see two, I get twice as scared. So if a swarm of 10,000 come after me, I don't think I'm even going to run. I'm just going to flop over.
Do you guys have carpenter bees there?
What's a carpenter bee?
You would not want to come to Ohio right now, Nick.
Uh-oh.
There's a thing called carpenter bees.
Okay.
And they look just like bumblebees.
Okay.
But they're all over the place. And what they do is they burrow into wood.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they're all over the place here in Ohio. Like literally all over the place.
Can they sting you?
So they say no, but my dad was stung by one like last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that means yes.
But they look just like a bumblebee. You've got bumblebees there, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's the kind I'm scared of, actually.
Yeah, they look almost identical.
Yeah. Bumblebees are like supposedly the nicest ones, and I'm still scared of them. I don't know why.
Well, I'm allergic to them, so I really don't like them.
I wouldn't have a clue. I have never been stung.
So, true story. I don't know if I've ever told this on the podcast or not, but when I was a kid, I used to stay at my grandparents' house all the time.
Right. As we all did in our generation.
Oh, yeah. And then my two uncles lived there also.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, these yellow jackets infested my grandparents' house.
Mm.
And for whatever reason, I decided to stay. And I'll never forget, these things were everywhere. Like they were coming out of the light fixtures.
Oh my God.
And then buzzing all around the house. And it would be nighttime and you would just hear them bzzz, and they'd be like underneath the covers.
I couldn't.
New fear unlocked. But I'll never forget, my uncle was laying in bed and one zapped him. Pow. And with the yellow jackets, they can keep stinging you. They don't have to stop.
Yeah.
And I don't think I got stung that entire weekend. I don't think. Now, I did get stung by a yellow jacket. That's how I found out I was allergic to them.
Right.
I was going fishing and one hit me in the back of my arm.
Oh, okay.
And the back of my arm like inflated. It inflated big time. And I'm like, if I would have got stung in the neck, I probably would have had no air.
These things are awful. They don't need to exist on this planet.
They say they do, but sometimes
that's all big B propaganda. That's not real.
Yellow jackets, listen, they're little buttholes.
Yeah, they sure are. They sure are. But let me put it to you this way.
Mm-hmm.
And I want this to stick with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is worse? There is a man outside your home.
Yeah.
Who can stab you a couple times. He could stab you as much as he wants, but he stabs you and he leaves generally, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That guy's pretty bad, right?
Pretty bad guy.
There is another guy that comes by your house and he hates you so much that he will kill himself to stab you once. He will rip his own bowels out and try to strangle you with them just to mildly harm you. That's how much he hates you. Is that guy worse? I think
that guy's worse.
Yeah, that's a B.
That is a B.
Because they rip their butt off just to sting you.
Correct. I heard a rumor
Mhm.
I don't know if it's true or not.
Okay.
This could be some false information, folks.
B.
They say you can buy a fake wasp nest,
Mm-hmm.
and if you put it by your house, wasps will not go there because they're territorial.
That is correct.
Look at that. Nick already knew.
When I was younger, and places don't do it nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
but restaurants would put up a paper bag tied at the top.
Oh,
So it was
wow.
sort of rounded,
Mm-hmm.
and wasps wouldn't go near there. In fact, wasps won't even live in the same place twice.
That's insane.
Yeah.
You know what that means, Nick?
Go to the Arctic.
Got to go to the Amazon machine, buy me some fake wasp nests.
That's right. Or just paper bags.
Well, they say that other insects won't come too because they see a wasp nest.
I won't go if you have a realistic enough looking one.
Nick's like, when we come to do that investigation, there better not be no wasp nests in your car.
Well, you told me there was bees in one of these places. I'm still quite concerned about that.
The
But
Hinsdale house.
yeah. So
Yeah, there's supposedly there was a bee infestation and the beginning haunting of that
Yeah.
entire story.
yeah, well, there might end up being a ghost there if that's still there.
Well, luckily we'll be going in September, so it'll be
Yeah.
quite a bit chillier. They'll probably not be hanging out.
I like that.
Though technically in the story, that was what made this haunting a little bit more because it was the winter time when these things was still there.
Well, I'm glad it's only one night. So
Facts. Well, everybody, what do you think? Do you think there's a story we should have covered? Is there something that you found entertaining? What is it about these doggone bees that's scaring everybody? Was you guys watching Rescue 911 and scared to death of these bees, these Africanized colony of bees? That's what I want to know, because that's not the bee's knees. You know what I'm saying? Well, hopefully y'all enjoyed the podcast. Until we see you in the next podcast, goodbye.
buzz off.
Buzz off, Buzz Aldrin.